You've probably heard that writing a research paper could potentially get you into the college of your dreams. But is it actually true? What do admissions officers think when they see a research project on your profile? What's going to make you more likely to stand out? In this video, we're going to discuss exactly that. Hello everyone, my name is Bogdan Popescu and I'm an assistant professor at John Cabot University of Rome. In my career, I taught at universities like Princeton, Chicago, and Oxford. In the last 2 years, I was an admissions officer at Oxford, specifically at Magdalen College. So that's why I can give you insights on what admissions officers are looking for when they do look at research projects in your application. In today's video, we're going to look at whether research projects actually matter when you apply to college. We're going to discuss what is a research project in the end. How is it that research admissions officers look at research projects that students submit? How to talk about your research in your application materials? And finally, how to get started on a research project before you apply to college. So first things first, do research projects actually matter? The short answer is no, they're not essential. However, in a highly competitive world where colleges see hundreds and sometimes even thousands of applications, having a research project as an extracurricular can make a difference between being admitted versus not. In today's world, it's no longer enough to simply have amazing grades and taking a lot of AP classes or advanced classes with good grades. But having a research project demonstrates potentially your intellectual curiosity, your ability to conduct independent work, also your ability to read academic literature, and potentially promise of scholarly research. So that is why having a research paper could potentially make a difference between being admitted versus not. So what is a research project? A research project is fundamentally a research paper that starts off with a question and tries to answer it in a systematic way. Typically engages with some literature and shows some awareness of the methodologies available in the field. It's almost like a mini version of what an academic would do later on in their career. So how do committees view research? As you might imagine, admissions committee members do not have a lot of time to spend on every application. Specifically, they typically spend around 10 to 15 minutes on every application. So communicating that you've been involved in a research project quickly and effectively is highly important. Of course, the most important things in your application should be grades and courses you've taken. But in addition to that, admissions officers are also curious. How do you spend your time outside of school? So this is where you can list your research projects. So having a research project would communicate a few things about you. First, it would signal an intellectual curiosity. Imagine you're conducting your research project. Clearly, you're interested in some specific topic that would likely be related to your major and also your academic depth. It would also show the ability to think critically and to work independently. So of course, to write a research project, you have to read a bit of the literature. So this means that you will develop some familiarity with the academic literature. You will potentially identify gaps in the literature. And this clearly also communicates that you have an intellectual ability to think independently. Thirdly, the research project will add to some context to your major of interest. As you might imagine, in your application, you do have to explain what is the topic, what is the field that you'd like to pursue, what could potentially be your major or your minors. So having this research project definitely adds more context about you as a person and you as a potential future intellectual. So that's why having a research project could give that specific context. And then in addition, a research project could also tell something to the admissions committee about how you're adding to the intellectual community on campus. So this suggests potential to contribute to the research on campus as a research assistant or as a member of particular labs. How to talk about your research in your application? Many college applications feature specific questions that would help you introduce details about the research projects that you've conducted. So there might be questions like, what are you interested in majoring? So this could be a very good pivot to explain that you've conducted this research and you really enjoyed it, you really enjoyed the intellectual journey, but that also motivated a specific interest in a topic in which you'd like to major. Other colleges would also have questions like, what is something that you're curious about? Beyond your day-to-day experience, it would also be helpful to the admissions officers to know that you've conducted some serious, rigorous research in a particular field. Other colleges may also have questions related to extracurricular activities. So in addition to maybe being part of the debate club or being part of the rowing team, it could also be useful to explain what kind of research project you've conducted. What are the kinds of activities you've engaged with to answer a specific question. Similarly, there might be questions about sharing an experience you've had in order to better understand you. So colleges want to better understand you. So here is again another opportunity in which you could talk about the research project that you've engaged in. Finally, there could be questions about tell us something meaningful to you and why it is important. Again, an intellectual pursuit, an intellectual question could give admissions a sense that you are a well-rounded individual, that you're intellectually curious, and that you're willing and able to participate in the intellectual life on campus. Finally, selective colleges also typically have some supplemental essays. Those are great because those are ample opportunities for you to actually expand on the research projects you've conducted. All the other things that I just mentioned earlier will probably give you 20 or 50 words maximum to talk about your research project. In the supplemental essay, you would have much more space to dedicate and get into details about what was the research question, what was the methodology, and potentially what was the gap in the literature that you're trying to fill, in addition to how that informed your decision to choose a particular field. So what are the main components of your research project and how should you even think about it? A research project should obviously start with something that you're curious about. What keeps you awake at night? But then once you get into that, you should find a research question. So the curiosity informs the topic that you want to pursue. The next level is to identify a research question. So a research project should have a research question, should have an argument explaining your theory or explaining how your project is advancing a literature. It should have a literature review which demonstrates an understanding of the academic literature in that specific field. It should have some information about the findings, and then a research project should also have a solid introduction, conclusion, and a discussion of the main findings and what they represent for the literature. If you found this video helpful and you're working on a research project, drop a comment down below. I've helped high school students and college students go through the journey of writing a research project, from the research question all the way to the conclusion. I also put together a large variety of materials and videos to guide you through the process. If you'd like to see if we're a good fit, let me know in the comments. Thank you and see you in the next video.